Man, it's a gloomy day with this storm in town, but everyone's okay here. I hope people up in the Panhandle did okay with all the flooding and stuff they're probably getting, I'm sure. I haven't seen the news yet this morning, but we gotta get to the shop, get that thing open so we can start a day in the shop. We're next. Oh man, someone beat me here again. Can't go in there empty-handed. Alright guys, welcome to the channel, Making It Work. I'm Jimmy. We're finally here to start a day in the shop, and it is pretty dreary out. We'll put some clips in, see what's going to happen in today's video, see who's not afraid of the storm. We got another dead Honda. This one's also disabled. Jim's Corvette. GMC 2016. You can see it's pretty gloomy and cloudy out here. We basically got a pretty good rainstorm. It's been raining for about, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours on and off. So there's going to be a little bit of flooding. I'm really worried about the people up in the Panhandle. That's where it usually hits. Most hurricanes hit up there, but the rain is the big problem, more so than the wind. We'll see what happens. The news is all over it. They got, we got lines at Home Depot and stuff like that. That's generally what happens. The news gets everyone scared and says, don't be scared, be prepared. And then everyone's scared buying stuff at Home Depot. Anyway, basically what we got is 45-mile-an-hour wind gust peaks and a lot of rain. Let's finish getting this place open up. They got most of it for me. The fans are already on, everything. It's not even warm. But it's not going to deter us from getting in there, learning a thing or two, having some fun, and getting some people back on the road. Stay tuned. Well, we got another dead Honda, and someone's been messing with it. It's got a blown 125 amp fuse, and then they put a jumper wire across the fuse, and that burnt up. Most of the time on those, it's a shorted alternator. But we got to get it in the shop. It was parked out here Friday night late, and all the windows are open. It's been out in the rain. That's not a good look, but the battery's dead, and someone's knows it, and they've been rigging things up rather than fixing it. So now I got a stack of seat covers because the seat's drenched. We're gonna get the push truck and get it in the shop and figure it out. 2008 Honda Odyssey. Just like that, it's in the shop. They use the old Toyota T100 push truck pushing the Honda. So it says 2008 Honda Pilot on the paperwork, but it's actually a 2015 Honda Odyssey. I can't explain it. The customer told him it was a 2008 Honda Pilot, I guess. I don't know. Either way, we'll show you what's going on with this thing. That's not supposed to be like that. The battery's hooked up correctly. Someone mentioned something about the battery being hooked up backwards, but it's hooked up correctly. Most of the time on these, I already pulled the rubber booty off. I'm going to make sure it's not live with my test light, and if the alternator's not live, I'm going to disconnect it. Then I'll check to see if there's any short. We'll get the battery charger on it and that kind of thing. And we'll see if we can revive this vehicle, get it back to usable status. Hondas, they never break. Everyone knows it's not true, but it's still funny. And the battery's not dead. The windows don't work and all because of the blown fuse. That's dim there, huh? Full power, nothing. Because it comes through the fuse. It goes in here through the fuse and back out to that side of the car. This fuse powers up this and this, I'm supposing, through here. 125 amp fuse. Let's make sure the battery's not live. I mean, the alternator's not live still. And it's not. So I can safely disconnect it and then check for a short. What I'll do is I'll put a fuse jumper, like a 30 amp fuse jumper across there with the alternator disconnected. Because I'm guessing if I put it on now without changing anything, it's just going to blow the fuse. And that's, 29 out of 30 times it's going to be the alternator shorted on these. So that's what we'll try first. Ooh, that's tight. Quarter drive should be able to take this little bolt off of here. That's crazy. Go ahead. Ooh, jeez Louise, man. That's just a cable stud. Really tight. Alright, we got that. Now I can pull this cable off here. I might have to disconnect this 10 that goes to the wiring harness too, so I can pull it off the alternator. and then we'll see if we still have a short. Just find out if this is a really bad short or not. Got the alternator disconnected, but this isn't a foolproof way to do it. This gives me an idea of something really bad shorted, but we'll go to the alternator case and we'll go to the alternator stud.
She drove it here, but she said it really bad.
It's not shorted at the stud. Sometimes it'll have to get hot, sometimes it has to be running. A lot of possibilities, but I'm kind of curious to see if I can put a jumper fuse across that right now. Put our fuse, this is only a 30 amp fuse. If something's shorted, it's just going to pop right off the bat. It's working. There's probably an alternator that shorts when you start the car up, I'm guessing. Totally guessing at this point, but there's not much I can do. I could connect my jumper fuse to the fuse legs a little better and then touch the alternator back up. I won't be able to start it. The 30 amp fuse is going to blow. I don't want to burn up with the 125 amp fuse testing my theory. We'll come up with something. Maybe I'll put a higher amperage fuse in this. These little wires aren't going to make it though. Maybe we'll have to get a couple of fuses and sacrifice one to verify if it's the alternator or not. Let's see here. And just these connections make a fuse blow.
So do you have the jump box?
Pretty nasty. I'm going to go up front and ask them if they want to sacrifice a couple fuses. I could even bundle several of these together, but we might have to just do that. I know one thing, this little patch they did with jumper wires, that's these little jumper wires, you have no idea how much amperage those little wires can carry. When you do that, you're taking a risk of burning the whole car down. Keeping in mind that 125 amp fuse, there's really only two things in the entire car that are gonna pull 125 amps and not be melted, and that's the starter and the alternator. Lift it up. I'm gonna do a visual around the starter, make sure nothing weird, like if someone just worked on it and there's a starter cable not in the right place, and we'll go from there. We'll see, and then I'm gonna have them get me obviously at least 2 of these fuses. We already got the alternator disconnected, right? So if we put a fuse in it, start it up, and it blows the fuse, the starter's what's left. That's right, on these the starter's not below, it hangs out over the transmission. And I don't see any recent work. I don't see a harness out of place. So it's not like someone worked on it and has a wire touching where it shouldn't be. It's either an internally shorted starter or internally shorted alternator. Alright, we found the 08 Honda Pilot these keys go to. This one's also disabled. This is the one that they saw smoke and it won't go. Oh, look at that. I don't know how we started pushing in the other one. That was my next ticket. It's like a well-oiled machine up in here, boys and girls. It starts. What's wrong with that? It goes. Saw smoke and it won't go. Let's bring it up here behind the other Honda. We got a pile of Hondas. Check engine lights on. Shut that off. Take a look under the hood before we run it too much. How many miles are on it, you know? 209,420. You can't kill a Honda. Alright, poor starter, alternator. This car's not from here. This is like a South Main Auto Honda. Got an Infinity battery in it. I don't see what could go wrong. Honda and Infinity, they don't get along. I don't know if you knew that. Nissan is in cahoots with Mazda and Ford though. CVT transmissions. That was all their idea. Something is rusted on this transmission, and when it starts to get warm, it stops moving. I barely got it back up to the shop trying to drive it. That's the reason I didn't leave the parking lot. I was making circles around the building. And let's get a look at the training fluid. Uh-oh. It's got sparkly transmission fluid. It literally has pieces of metal on it, and it's low. So I can add some transmission fluid. This has a tiny little dipstick that's hard to get fluid in, so you got to take that 17mm plug out of the back. We put a couple quarts of fluid in it and see where the fluid's coming from and if the transmission's savable or it's been damaged. but it's so rusty. I don't even know where it's leaking, but you can see it. There's transmission fluid all over here, like it's spraying out of this solenoid, like the solenoid rusted. It's hard to really see what's going on in there, but something rusted in the transmission. It's spraying fluid everywhere back here. Not even a lot. I shouldn't say spraying it everywhere. It's just leaking, and it probably takes a while and hasn't been checked in a while till the car stopped moving. All right, let's let them know up front how rusty it is. Get a couple quarts of fluid, see if we can save this transmission. All right, I made me a little jumper with a 40 amp fuse just to put the windows up, and I said, let me try starting it. Worst that'll happen, I'll blow the fuse. Started up, it didn't blow the fuse, so it's running right now. So I said, well, let me check to see if the alternator's shorted. I got my voltmeter on the positive. Got 11 volts on the ground and 11 volts on the alternator, so the alternator's shorted. Gonna need an alternator. We'll see if they want to fix it. They're getting some fuses. The problem is they're not readily available because Hondas don't break. Why would anybody have parts for them? All kidding aside, 125 amp fuses aren't that common. How you doing?
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Jim's Corvette. The guy used to own the shop. Someone has bumped into a curb, so we're gonna put a new chin spoiler on it for him. I just got to get past the rain and stuff, and hopefully it doesn't get too squirrely in the parking lot. We'll break more stuff and we'll get it in my bay. I moved all those Hondas out of the way so we can switch to something that normally breaks, like a Chevrolet. In case you don't know what kind of car you're in, it tells you Chevrolet Corvette. It says Corvette on the dash and all. I don't know if the camera caught that part, but this is the Z06. Super quick little car. These Corvettes, they're no joke. I like them. Some people say, oh, it's a midlife crisis car or whatever, but I'm not, the C8 is what I really would, if I ever won the lottery, I'd get a C8 Corvette. The new Z06, new ZR1 Corvette, it's going to be the fastest sports car in the world. It's going to smoke Ferraris and all kinds of stuff. The only thing that'll beat it is the super high-end Bugattis and cars like that. So it's ridiculous. There's Bugattis with 1,800 horsepower. Anyway, he's got a box with a spoiler in it, several pieces, and we're going to get it on this lift here and have something to do today. The Honda Pilot, that Honda Pilot looked at with the rusty transmission and the sparkly oil, I tried to drive it around back and it won't go anymore. She doesn't want to spend any money. She wanted to know what we could do for a couple $100 bucks, and it's just not realistic. So AAA brought it. AAA will take it away. Seems like a lot of people that don't have the money to fix their cars use AAA because it's an inexpensive way to get towing. Let's try to find this spoiler thing and try to get something productive done today. Oh, the other Honda, the Odyssey, I think it said we got fuses coming for it. The alternator's obviously got a short. Shouldn't be reading ground while it's running. So, all right, let's get to work. I don't want to get too much water in his car. Jim's watching this video. What's up, Jim? He said I'm gonna look for the video of you fixing my car. All right, I'm trying to remember how I put this on here last time, about, I don't know, it was 4 years ago now or so. I think this is a 2019, so something like that. There's some Phillips, some 7mm. We got the canards, I believe they call them. This is the right driver's side, left side. So you can see where the bolt holes are, and it goes in the wheel well here. That's this piece right here. So it's all updated stuff. It's got to figure out what's broken and what's not. And it's a really hard plastic, so if you pull up to a curb stop all the way and you hit a curb stop, it breaks. So don't pull up all the way. The problem is you also sit kind of back in these cars, so you should be aware that you got a whole bunch of the car in front of you. And a car like this, I'd stop 2 or 3 feet short of the curb stop. I wouldn't even get close. That's probably what'll happen from now on, right? You only have to break one of them to realize they're expensive. Well, expensive for Grandpa. First order of business, removing all these bolts. Get all the old stuff out of my way. And then this is the new one, slightly different. The curves are a little different out here. I think it sticks it further out, which now you got to leave even more room off the curbs. But shouldn't be too bad. It's probably going to use all similar holes, although they give you different screws, Phillips screws, instead of using the 7mm factory screws, I guess. Yeah, we'll sort it out. The worst thing you might do is take a little time and a little bit of dancing. Some people call it patience. Same thing. Something's holding it here, I guess. Double-sided tape, probably. I don't remember. Yep, double-sided tape. There it goes. Yeah, it's easy. Comes right off of there. I don't know if these are the right ones. Can't go over that. I guess maybe it could, but it's like an inch away from the wheel well, and the tire's not going to clear it there. Hot rod stuff, you know. I am not really sure. There's no instructions. We'll come up with something. We got Dremel tools and cut off wheels and sawzalls. We'll get it on there. All right, we put it back in the box. He doesn't want to cut the fender well things and all, so he's going to get a different setup. And I'm just going to put it all back together and put all the screws in, so we have it for whatever he finds to put in next time. My friend Tony just stopped by today, brought me a Dunkin' gift card. Here on vacation, visiting Disney with the kids and family. Really appreciate you, Tony. That was awesome. Nice to meet you. GMC 2016. Got an AC problem and a TPMS problem. Let's take a look inside. 102,066 miles. Pretty clean in here. Let me give it a 5. It's teetering on a 6 though. Really close. I'm gonna let's see if we can bring up the dash to show what the tire pressures are and why the TPMS light might be on. Could actually be a sensor problem, could be low on tires. Service tire monitor system. It doesn't say check air pressure. That means there's codes. So we'll get the scanner to look at that, and while we're there, we'll check the AC and see if we can see some pressure on the AC data. Hasn't been a very productive day so far, I apologize, but it's not too late to rescue the day. Got a few hours left. Let's go ahead and get this car in here, get these two shaking hands, and man, I'm getting a headache. I don't know what the dealio is. I don't know what the dealio is. Health report. We got the old kickstand under here. We got the, look at all of these 16 BCM codes. Keyless entry battery, headlamp control, driver door unlock circuit, all doors unlock circuit, left front tire pressure sensor, 2 fuel pulses, right front low voltage, right front, this thing needs 4 TPMS sensors. They go bad. They do have a lifespan. People don't realize if you haven't seen videos where I've talked about this, they have little watch batteries in them basically, and their life expectancy is about 6 years, sometimes 8 years or so. This being a 2016, it's 8 years old. So I have seen them last even longer, but every time when you get hit, I think about 8 miles an hour, most of them, that's when they turn on. Centrifugal force activates the batteries. That's why sometimes you'll air up your tires and the light won't go out until you drive. It's because a certain amount of force is taken to energize them and turn them on. If they just stayed on all the time, they'd die in a year or two instead of 6 or 8 years, you know. So that's pretty quick and easy. 2 fuel pulses and low voltage codes. Basically means the sensors are very, very weak. Now, air conditioning. Let's see. Air conditioning. Enter. Auto control single zone or manual control single zone. We're looking for an auto button and I do not see one. I'm going to say manual control single zone. read fault code. It's going to say none, but I'm going to check directly in the module anyway. None. Very rare occasions I have seen a code in the module directly that didn't show up in the health report. AC permission data. Let's just select them all. Compressor clutch inhibit reason, blower off. AC compressor clutch status disengaged. Evaporator temperature 82. High side pressure 98.7. Request signal no. Start it up. Fan works. AC on. AC compressor clutch engaged. Temperature sensor 80. High side pressure is going up. So it's got some refrigerant. Request signal yes. Inhibit reason undefined means it's on. Compressor clutch status engaged. The evaporator is cooling off, but not a lot, so it's probably low on refrigerant. So we did get quite a step up on the high side pressure, but nowhere near what it should be. Normally, if this is working correctly, it'll be somewhere between 160 and 240 psi, depending on the system and the outside air temperature and all that kind of thing. So let's grab the machine, see how much it's low, and take a peek around, see if we can spot some dye. Uh-oh, still needs the alignment rack. Well, I'm not finding any leaks, and the refrigerant pressure came down, but if it was low on refrigerant, it should have, I mean, went up. If it was low on refrigerant, the low side should be low. When it's low on refrigerant, the high side won't get very high, and the low side will get low enough that the compressor will cycle back off, but it's not pulling the low side down. I'm going to pull the refrigerant out of this thing and see if it really is low. It may just have a weak compressor. It's not pulling the low side down and making it cold. I definitely don't see any dye or even traces of dampness, which refrigerant oil always leaves it damp. I see some yellow speckles because it's got corrosion, it got bugs in the condenser. They show up as yellow speckles. But if it was dye, it'd be like a pool of yellow accompanied by wetness. So let's do that. Let's pull the refrigerant out, see about how much is in it. It's not terribly accurate coming out, but if it's, 75% of what it would be full, then I know it was fairly full and the compressor's just weak. I mean, I'm already pretty sure it's a compressor, but that'll help me verify my thought. Yeah, we're over a pound now. I still got a little bit more. It's pulling out. It holds 1.4, so it's got a bad compressor. The reed valves inside aren't letting it pull the low side down enough. There's a lot of compressors lately. I don't know what's going on, but we'll see if she wants to fix it. 4 TPMS sensors and an AC compressor. Luckily, it hasn't blown up yet, so that means it didn't send metal through the system like the other car did. So let's see what happens with this one. I'm picking up the battle of the great skunks somewhere around here. And I also don't see any co-workers. That's a bad sign. Looked at 6 cars so far today, and this is the first one that approved the repairs. All the rest of them backed out. I just pulled the GMC Terrain out, and they said not only no, but hell no. They said we'll just buy a new car before we're going to put $1,500 into our old one. And I said, you know what? I couldn't agree more. That's what I'd do. This alternator we're going to do. The battery's fully charged now, so I'm going to get in there, disconnect the negative. So when I pull the alternator out on these Hondas, there's not a lot of room, and it looks like there's no way it would fit out, but you take the reservoir and a couple other things out of the way and the alternator fits out the top. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's get started. Take that out of the way. Got my clamps on this so we make less of a mess. I'm gonna try to pull this way. Got to disconnect that clamp and get that hose off of there. It'll make a little mess, but we'll minimize it. Stuff a rag here, stuff a rag there, stuff a rag everywhere. And we're gonna have to clean some stuff up afterwards, but we'll just clean up less when we're done. Pull this hose off of here, put a cap on the overflow. It should just slide off this bracket down here. And then once this is out of the way, I can lift that out. This is the path the alternator is going to take. Minimize the mess here. A little at a time. Now it actually looks like there's more room in there. I like taking these this bracket completely out of my way. That's just how I do it. It's one less thing to get the alternator past. I got the belt off of there. Now there's a 14 on the bottom. I try to leave the belt wrapped around most of the pulleys where I can. We should be getting somewhere now. I also pulled this pulley off to get an extra, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch from the tensioner. So it's out of there, no problem. Some are harder than others, depends on the model and the year and all that, but almost all the Hondas come out this way, even Acura's. Look at this. This is the ultimate alternator. According to the box, says Ultima right on it. I pushed the bushing out a little bit with a small ball peen just to get those two pieces a little wider so this will slip in there. I also tapped this bushing backwards a little bit since the rebuilder left it pressed out. So we should be good now. When I put it in there, it should fit in. I should be able to get my bolt back in. It's the big lower bolt, 14mm head. For some reason there's an Allen on the top. I don't remember an Allen last time I did one, but no big deal. It's like a 6mm Allen. Drop it back in there. Listen here, man. It is a tight squeeze. You gotta be patient. I wish I could get 3 hands down there, but I can't. Ah, there you go. It's easy. Lower bolt. I've actually got all the bushings spaced out so good now that it flops around in there, where I had to use a pry bar to get it out. Now I'm not going to tighten this. I'm just going to snug it up. Right around there. Now I can get my top bracket bolted on. I'll bolt the regular 12 goes to the head and the Allen to the alternator for some reason. But the threads are in this piece. This is drilled through and this is threaded. This goes behind the alternator and this goes into the cylinder head. Get both of these threaded before I tighten anything. I don't make them quite Honda tight, but I make them really tight. Uh-oh, that's not the direction we wanted. I never switched it back. Pop the belt on. Reservoir and power steering reservoir, coolant reservoir and power steering reservoir. Now, that might look like it's going backwards, right? But that's the way you tighten up this tensioner pulley. Otherwise when you try to take the belt on and off, it would loosen the bolt. Backwards. Some electrical connectors. Well, one electrical connector and one battery cable, or alternator cable if you want to call it more correctly. Plenty tight. This tool is pretty strong. I got to put the 10 back in the harness here. Right down there. Expansion tank. The clip was missing here. I'll probably dig one of those up too, just because I'm a cool dude. Uh-oh. Got that on there. This thing's next, and I'll run some brake clean down there with the old Sure Shot. And that way we'll prevent any emergencies from happening. An unmarked minivan. Definitely don't want to leave any remnants, make it look like it's leaking there. Everything's all cleaned up, back in its holders. One of these. We're pretty good to go. We're not going to get that fuse till the morning, I think. That's what she said, I believe. I'm going to double check. Hook that battery back up though. Now that the alternator is in good shape. What the heck is that back there? That's a... I just got ready to put the engine cover and the air inlet back on. I think this goes over here. I didn't take it off. Huh. Man, oh man. How close can we get to new car status with a high mileage Honda? We can get pretty close, I bet you. Just gotta figure out how it snaps on there. Also found out why the engine cover wasn't snapped on, because you can't push these back in the hole when they're in the plastic. They got to go in the aluminum panel first, and then they'll pop in. This is all busted up because somebody was forcing it, I guess, or something. I'll give you a little peek at it. She had an invoice, or she or he, I'm not sure who, but they had an invoice from where they were in the car. And I don't like to criticize other mechanics and shops, but I'll give you a hint. It was a tire store. Probably not the best idea for repairs. Let's see how we're charging. I hook this to the positive. I'm hoping it's not over 40 amps, because then that fuse will blow. DC. 14 volts. So the alternator we put in is working good. Tomorrow we'll get the a decent fuse in here that's not going to blow. What happens is this fuse goes to the alternator, and the starter, I realized after thinking about it a little bit, I didn't look at a wiring diagram yet, but the starter has a main cable without a fuse, and the relay's fused to the starter but not the main cable, and then that fuse is for the alternator. At least that's how I believe it works. Maybe you Honda experts will know better, but that's why this fuse will only blow with the alternator, I believe. There's nothing else. No module is going to pull 125 amps and blow that fuse, but a shorted alternator will sure will. But since the battery's fully charged, it's not going to charge over 40 amps unless I turn a bunch of accessories on, then it'll blow the 40 amp fuse in here. So we'll finish this up tomorrow when we get a 125 amp fuse for it. Plus I'll be able to see if anything happens weird overnight. Maybe I'm going to leave my fuse in overnight, see if it blows the fuse or something else might be going on, but that's a very, 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 very small possibility. But I'm still going to explore it because of the way things have been going the past couple weeks. All right, let's see if we can get something else done today. Well, I guess that's going to be it for today. We fixed all the cars. No more broken cars in Kissimmee. So that's where we're going to end it. Thanks for watching, guys. We finally pulled some work out at the end of the day here. We did a lot of checks, and I get paid for those too, but just kind of feel bad for people like they can't afford to fix their car. I mean, that's pretty bad. But anyway, I hope you're doing better than that. You can afford to fix your car if something happens. You always got to tuck a little money away in the bank, you know, $10 here, $20 there, whatever you can, so that when something happens, you got a little nest egg. You know, what happens if your refrigerator stops working, you know? Anyway, enough of that. I'm doing everything I can to make it work for everybody I can. So thanks for watching. Torque the like button before you head out. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And more than anything, besides hoping that you're doing okay, I hope I see you in the next video, because you're awesome.